to episode 12 of Ina Knits, my video podcast about my passions for yarn and knitting. My name is Ina and I am coming to you from Norway. I live here in the middle part of the country, not far away from the city of Trondheim, if you are familiar with that place. So I'm very happy to be here with you again today. I really should start off by thanking all of you who commented on my last episode, which was all about the whips and the UFOs. I had quite a substantial number of unfinished projects lying around, and turns out I'm not the only one. So I'm very happy about your support, and a lot of you had very specific advice about how I could tackle a couple of the projects that I originally planned to rip out. And I am probably going to reconsider turning them into frogs or ripping them out. And I am going to come back to that later, but I'm very happy to say that one of the old UFOs have now almost been turned into finished objects, and I will show you that later. In this episode I'm going to show you 3 finished objects. I have a couple of whips, and I do have quite a lot of new stash to share, and I also want to announce a giveaway because I have now over 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is quite amazing. So I want to thank you by hosting a little giveaway. But more about that later on. 3 weeks have passed since my last episode, and I didn't plan to wait that long before I recorded a new one. But quite a lot have happened these past weeks. We have had a throat infection. We have been away on a 1-week holiday, and we went to Spain, or to the Canary Islands. They belong to Spain, but they are situated just west of the African coast. So the climate there is very mild and very nice summer weather all the year round. So we had 1 week of nice summer weather. We could wear t-shirt and sandals, and we had a bath in the ocean or in the pool every day, and it was very nice to have a little break from the cold and dark winter up here north. So very grateful that we was able to have that vacation this winter. But as much as we, or I, love to be away, I always find it so nice to come home. And we came home on a Saturday, and on the following Sunday we had beautiful winter weather, and we went out on skis, cross-country skis, and we could put our skis on at our doorstep and just walk straight across the field here and into the tracks. So we had a lovely skiing trip that Sunday, and it really reminded us that it is so good to live here in winter wonderland, although we sometimes long for warmer and brighter or lighter weather. Yeah. And this past 1 or 2 weeks my husband has been away on work travels, so it it's very busy for me at home with the two teenage girls and my little boy who is now almost 5 years old. So things are quite hectic at home. But I do manage to squeeze in a little knitting every day. Not always very much, but some minutes here and half an hour there, and I do see some progress every day. Right, so I want to show you my finished objects. I have to admit that mostly the most part of the knitting that I got done these past 3 weeks was during the 1 week of vacation. So I guess that's not a big surprise to anyone. The first finished object I'm going to show you is my iris shrug. And here it is. It is called a shrug, but yeah, it's basically a bolero, I would say. Actually, I think the term shrug doesn't have a Norwegian word, so we call it a bolero. But it is beautiful with this lace pattern all over it, and it is finished off by hem all around the body part and on the arms. I will pop in some pictures of me wearing the shrug so that you can see how it looks when I have it on. The yarn I've used is Wool Collection, the Linnea base, and the colorway is called Cosmic Chaos. The yarn is a beautiful mix of different qualities. It's silk, it's alpaca, and it's linen, and it's so light and drapey. And I think it suits this garment perfectly. Because it's so light and airy, I think I will probably put this garment away for spring and summertime. And it will be absolutely perfect to wear over a dress or a summer top. So I am very, very pleased about the shrug. I was able to finish it so fast because it was a knit along going on for this shrug in Amy's Little Kingdoms group on Ravelry. And the deadline was 31st of January, and it really helped me finish the shrug before the deadline. I have one comment about the colorway though. I don't know if you can see this very well on the screen, but the shrug is knit from this center point and first onto the one side, and then you pick up some provisional cast on stitches and you knit the other way. And it's very obvious, for me at least, to see that the first hank of the yarn that I used was quite different in color. It's much darker on this side than it is on the other side. But I have decided that it's not going to bother me. It is a hand-dyed hank of yarn, so one really should or have to accept that it can be differences in color even in one skein alone. And If I was very picky about it, I should have used 2 of the hanks at the same time and alternated skeins every other row or so. But I didn't bother to do that, and then I just have to accept that there's some differences in color. But I think the garment is beautiful either way, so that's that. The second finished object is a pair of man-sized socks. And these are probably a size European 43 or 44. And I am knitting this pair for my mom's friend who asked kindly if I could provide socks for her entire family. And now that I have finished this pair, I only have 1 pair left, and that is also going to be for a man. It's about the same size. I have used yarn from my stash, and for the cuff, heel and toe, and for the stripes in between, I've used a grey Regia skein that I had, and the rest is Barocco socks in a multicolor way. And I striped it with 5 rounds of the grey and 5 rounds of the multicolored yarn. And I did some 2x2 ribbing on the front of the sock, which I think it gives a very nice structure to the sock, and it also makes it stay on regardless of the size of your leg and your foot. And I did my quite standard heel flap and gusset decrease. Yeah, not sure if it's anything else to say about socks, but I'm so happy to have the pair done. The third finished object is also a pair of socks, and these are for my son. They are not much to look at because I haven't washed and blocked them yet, but and they look very tiny because they are ribbed in structure. So I made a 2x2 rib all the way on the leg and on the front of the foot. But the story about these socks is quite cute because I brought my 4-year-old son to the yarn shop here locally, and they had a sale on the sock yarn Sisu from Sandnes. And so we were looking at the Sisu shelf together, and he just picked out the orange ball of Sisu and said that, "Mommy, you need to knit socks for me in this yarn and this color." And my knitting heart just melted totally. So I bought I bought the ball, and then I thought that I'm not too happy about knitting one-colored socks. I think that's a bit boring. So I suggested for him that I could use a little grey in between, just to break up the orange a bit. And he agreed to that and thought that that was a nice idea. And along the way, I knitted these 2 at a time to ensure they were quite similar. And when I come knitted down to this point, he said, now you need to add some more grey. So I knitted the heels grey, and then I started on the orange again, and then he said, Mommy, now you need to add some more grey again. So he basically instructed me how to design these socks, and I absolutely love that. He decided how they were going to look. And he insisted on having grey toes, but the greys I've used up here and on the heel and so on were just small scraps that I had left. So I used up the last little scrap down here, and then I hadn't any more left in the lighter grey color. So I asked if it was okay that I used a very dark grey. It's almost black, but I think it's more like charcoal. And he agreed to that, and so that the toes are quite dark. So that was the little story about my son's socks. I think they're about size European 33 or 34. So yeah, little wish socks for my son. Now I'm on to my works in progress, and as I said, I am very happy to have made an old UFO working project, and it is the Quartz mittens. And when I showed you this UFO last time, it was only this mitten, and I hadn't cast on the second one yet. But I brought the pattern and yarn needles to the Canary Islands, and I knitted all of this while on holiday. And I could have finished it, but unfortunately I ran out of the minty green yarn. I mean, I have half a ton left. So I'm basically almost done. Yeah, but I do have more of the yarn, but I didn't bring it with me on holiday. So this is the yarn. It's an old discontinued colorway from Sandnes in a minty green color. And the dark grey is a charcoal grey, also Sandnes Smart, and I also have some petrol green, and this is DSA, the Stor Alpacka in Sterk. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but the first mitten is probably almost an inch or 2 centimeters longer than the second one. And I have been knitting the second mitten quite a bit denser than the first one, but hopefully it will even out when I block it. I think it will. The first one is already washed and blocked. Yeah, I think they are very nice, and I'm so happy to have them almost finished. I think I will probably be wearing these. So yeah, And it's a beautiful pattern, and I love the color combination as well. So one thing that is different on the second mitten than the first one is that I have been experimenting on my knitting technique, because this is obviously stranded knitting all the way, but only 2 colors at the same time. And usually, well, I'm a continental knitter, so usually I have the working yarn over my, is it the pointing finger? On my left hand. And when I work stranded knitting, I take both of the strands over my pointing finger, yeah. And then I just have to pick whatever color I'm knitting with. And then I adjust the tension by taking a short break and tensioning up the yarn that's not that doesn't have the correct tension. So yeah, but I figured that I wanted to try and do English style knitting with the contrast yarn, and then do the continental knitting with the main yarn. So I tried to make a little film about how I do this technique, and I will insert it here so you can see. It's not the best quality, and maybe it's just very confusing to look at, but I really enjoyed that way of knitting, and I'm definitely going to repeat that technique for my next colorwork project. Obviously I had to do some trial and error in order to get the correct tension, because I'm not used to English knitting and throwing technique of the yarn, but it was a very interesting way of doing color work, and it was I found it easier to do it this way than to have 2 strands over my pointing finger. So yeah, half a thumb left, and I mean it's probably half an hour worth of knitting to finish the mitten. So that is very doable within the next couple of weeks. My second work in progress is a new cast on that has been on the needles for about a week, and it is the Love You Baby shawl. And it is made out of 2-color brioche, which is the first section of the shawl. Yeah, I think I have about 10 pattern repeats left before I'm finished with the first section, and then I'm going to pick up stitches down here and do some garter ridges, and then it's 2 more sections with some stripes and some moss stitch, I believe, and then it will have a I-cord bind off all around the shawl. So it's a very beautiful shawl. It uses 3 hanks of yarn in different colors, and I chose to use this grey color. It's Madeleine Tosh Merino Light in the Great Grey Owl, and it is actually the same yarn as in this sweater, which is my V-neck boxy that I knitted last year. I love very much, and I use it a lot. And the second color is This one, I have to look it up now. This is Cheap U Colors, Cabito and 100% wool. And the colorway is raspberry. And I'm not sure if it turns up correct on the screen, but it is probably a bit more muted than you see here. And I haven't decided on the third color yet, but it probably will be some kind of pink or red, or yeah, in that color scheme. I love knit two-color brioche because it is such a beautiful effect with the predominant color on one side and another predominant color on the other side. And the texture is absolutely amazing. It's so elastic and squishy and lovely to touch. So this is a very enjoyable knit. And although it can be a bit fiddly to establish and start working on the two-color brioche pattern, once you get the hang of it, it basically knits itself. I don't have to think anything. It's very intuitive, I find. And yeah, the reason why I casted this shawl on was that my knitting group is going to Edinburgh for the Yarn Festival in March. And we went last year as well. And then we had a knit along. We decided on a shawl pattern and a hat pattern, and we knit both for the festival, and that was super fun. And this time we decided on the Love You Baby shawl, and we are all, or the four of us, we are knitting this shawl now. And the fifth, she wasn't comfortable knitting with a brioche, so she's knitting another shawl, but that's fine. Yeah, so we shall see. Hopefully I will be able to finish it before the festival, but if not, I'm bringing it with me and I will work on it during the festival instead. So either way will be just fine. So that was all the knitting I wanted to show you this time. My goal for the next 2 weeks will obviously be to finish off the Quartz mittens, and I will pick up one other UFO and start working on that. And my strategy going forward will be to always have one of my old UFOs as an active work in process. Yes. Yes, so that's that. I have been buying quite a lot of yarn lately, and well, some of it was planned and some of it was impulse of the moment, I'm afraid. And because I wanted to take charge of my stash. I want to take charge of my stash and get a good overview of what I have before I buy anything new. And unfortunately I haven't started living my plan of being in charge of my stash yet. So I have only been adding and I haven't got the overview yet. Hopefully I will start taking photos of my stash and putting it into Ravelry during February. Anyway, I'm going to show you what I bought, but if you, for some reason, if you're on a yarn diet, you don't want to be like tempted, I will put a timestamp on the screen here so you can jump over to the last section of my podcast, yeah, if that's what you want to do. So, the first thing I'm going to show you, I have been wanting so bad to place an order with Arctic yarns for a long time, and I finally did, and this is what I bought. These three beauties. Are they not lovely? They're so beautiful. This color is called Heart of Stone. This is Sunset at the Lake. And this green one is Norwegian Forest. I also bought some yarn from Marnie's. She's a local dyer here in the Trondheim area. And this is called Solnedgang, which is sunset. And I also bought 3 other skeins from her, but I have given them all away already. So this is the only one I kept for myself. And it's a 50-gram hank. I love the colors. I also got my 3rd installment of the Classic Society Club from Countess Ablaze. And don't you love this packaging? I mean, come on. It's so beautiful. And inside this is hank of yarn and something extra. And this time it was a beautiful mulberry silk and blue faced Leicester hank. I also got a tote bag and this little booklet. So this was my last installment. I had a 3-month subscription of the club, and it was part of my birthday present from my family last year. I also bought a bunch of Arvetta Classic from Virkolana. And I bought it from a Norwegian yarn shop called Marion R. And she has a great selection of Arvetta yarn, or yarn from Virkolana in her web shop. And I have been trying Arvetta before, but I bought a bunch of it mainly for socks, but also other projects where I can use sock yarn. Lastly, I got a beautiful parcel in my mailbox yesterday, and it was from a Canadian lady, and whom I have been swapping yarn with, yarn and local goodies with. And I got so many lovely yarns, and I was screaming and was speechless about all the lovely yarn I got, and especially the sock blank from Andy or Andres Units. It is almost too beautiful to knit with, so I have to hoard it for some time before I can use it, if I ever can use it for knitting. I'm not sure. And I got a beautiful bag from Sandy by the Lakeside, and a lot of other amazing yarns from Canadian and American indie dyers. So thank you so much. It was amazing, and yeah, yarn swaps are the best. That's for sure. So yeah, that was my new stash. Lastly, I want to talk to you a little bit about my Ravelry group and the giveaway, and some things that I am looking forward to and are coming up soon. Firstly, on Ravelry we have a group called Ina Knits, and we have had a couple of giveaways there and a knit along last year. And now I have made a thread called 2018 Knitting Goals. And I have been encouraging you to enter that thread and make a post about your personal knitting goals for this year. And a lot of you have already done that, and I love reading about your personal goals. Some of the goals are quite to the point, specific garments or projects that you love to realize this year, and others are more like I want to knit 6 garments for myself and 12 pairs of socks this year. And either way, it's great to have a goal for yourself, and it's very motivating. For me at least, I find it very motivating to have a specific goal and then be able to tick it off the list as I complete things I want to knit. So please continue entering your goals for the year, and it's you can make like a private post for yourself, and you can go back and edit the post as the year progresses and you finish off things, and you can have it as your little personal list if you wish. And it's also absolutely fine to use the thread as a chatting thread as well. We need to share it each other on, and yeah, encourage each other to reach our goals. That's an important thing, I think. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about was my 2000 subscriber on YouTube giveaway. So thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed to my channel on YouTube. I believe we have now passed 2,100 or something. And anyway, it's just an excuse to give something back. And because as much as I do this podcast mainly for my own sake, I find it very intriguing and exciting that so many of you want to follow me on my podcast journey, and that you find it interesting and nice to watch. So thank you so much for all the subscriptions and the likes and all of your lovely comments. I'm giving away this hank from Arctic Yarns, Sunset at the Lake at her Fjell base, which is superwash merino and nylon, and it's fingering weight. It's super beautiful. I'm also giving away the autumn-winter edition of Lane magazine. So if you want to win this prize, all you have to do is like this video on YouTube and enter a comment below and let me know one thing you love about wintertime where you live. The two things that I'm really looking forward to now are the Winter Olympics. I love to watch sports on TV, especially winter sports, especially cross-country skiing and I don't know, like alpine skiing and yeah, biathlon I like. And it starts now on Saturday, so I'm so intrigued to watch the Winter Olympics. Unfortunately, it's going on in South Korea, so well, it will. I believe that they're sending a lot of it very early when we have nighttime. But anyhow, we will figure it out, and I will watch a lot of it for sure. But that leaves me a good amount of TV knitting time, and that's a positive thing too. Another thing that I'm so looking forward to now is springtime, summertime, because my other passion besides yarn and knitting is gardening. And I'm not very good at it, and I'm totally amateur, but I love the feeling of working in my garden and making things grow, especially my kitchen garden. I love to make things that we can actually eat. And I was so inspired when I had my week vacation in the Canary Islands. We saw all of the beautiful flowers that were flowering, and yeah. So when I came home after vacation, I immediately went online to a web shop that sells a lot of seeds, and I bought like 20 packages of vegetable seeds, and I have been holding off to plant the seed indoors, but I think maybe within the next week I will start putting the first seeds in the soil and start growing them. Yeah, the climate here is as it is, and we can have frost nights at least through March and April. In May we should have warm enough weather to plant things outdoors, but we need to be very careful, and I often cover my little plants up in order to avoid them freezing during nighttime in May at least. June should be safe, and also July and August, but yeah, we have 3 good months of summer here: June, July and August. In September we could have frost nights again. So in order to make things grow in that short amount of time, we need to start early indoors. February would probably be a bit early, but I cannot wait, and I want so badly to succeed with tomatoes and cucumber this year. And then I have to start early enough indoors. So 2 types of tomatoes and 1 kind of cucumber is first up on my list. So if any of you are interested in gardening as well, I might take some footage of the progress of the seed and the growing of the seeds as I go along, and I might show you in the end of my episode. So this was everything I wanted to share with you today. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a couple of beautiful February weeks, and that you enjoy watching Winter Olympics as I do, and get a lot of TV knitting time as well. And hope that you are all well, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.